Take a deep breath, and let's hear a story about Jenna, who found peace and purpose in embroidery after life's unexpected changes forced her into solitude. The morning sunlight filtered through the large windows of Green Valley Market, casting a warm glow over the colorful produce displays. Jenna Matthews moved gracefully between customers, her bright smile and cheerful voice a fixture in the bustling shop. Her hands worked quickly, bagging groceries and counting change, while her eyes sparkled with genuine interest as she asked about children's soccer games and upcoming family celebrations. The market hummed with life around her, a symphony of conversations, cash registers, and rustling paper bags that had become the soundtrack to her days. Back at home, her apartment was rarely silent, filled with the comforting presence of her roommate Amanda. The two women had shared the cozy two-bedroom space for nearly 3 years, their friendship built on late-night conversations over cups of chamomile tea and mutual support through life's ups and downs. Their small living room had witnessed countless movie nights, impromptu dance parties, and heartfelt discussions about dreams and disappointments. The walls seemed to hold their laughter, creating a sanctuary of companionship that Jenna had come to rely on without even realizing it. Weekends often found Jenna at local cafes, surrounded by the gentle murmur of conversations and the rich aroma of freshly brewed coffee. She would meet friends for brunch, savoring both the fluffy pancakes drizzled with maple syrup and the warm embrace of social connection. The familiar faces of regular customers at the market, the comfortable presence of Amanda at home, and her circle of friends created a tapestry of human connection that wrapped around Jenna's life like a soft, well-worn blanket. The constant hum of conversation and companionship had become so natural to her that she hardly noticed its pervasive presence. Amanda's relationship with David had been blossoming over the past year, their romance growing deeper with each passing month. Jenna had watched with genuine happiness as her friend fell in love, even as she sometimes wondered what changes might lie ahead. The three would often share dinners together, the apartment filled with the delicious aromas of their cooking experiments and the gentle sound of clinking glasses as they toasted to friendship and love. These evenings were treasured moments of connection, simple yet profound in their warmth and authenticity. Spring was beginning to touch the city with its gentle fingers, coaxing tulips from the earth and painting tree branches with delicate green buds. Jenna loved this time of year at the market when the first local strawberries appeared, their sweet scent mingling with the earthy fragrance of fresh herbs. She would arrive early, inhaling deeply as she arranged displays, greeting the morning regulars by name and savoring these quiet moments before the daily rush began. Little did she know that this familiar rhythm, the comfortable pattern that had shaped her days for so long, was about to undergo a profound transformation. The neighborhood around their apartment building was vibrant and welcoming, with corner stores, a small park, and friendly faces that had become familiar over the years. Jenna often paused to chat with Mrs. Chun at the flower shop or wave to the barista, who remembered her usual order at the cafe down the street. These small connections created a sense of belonging, of being known and seen in a world that could sometimes feel too large and impersonal. The community had embraced her, and she had given her warm energy in return, creating a harmonious exchange that enhanced daily life. Amanda's artistic touch was evident throughout their shared apartment, from the watercolor paintings that adorned the walls to the handmade ceramic mugs in their kitchen cupboards. Jenna had always admired her roommate's creative spirit, the way her hands could transform blank canvases into scenes of beauty, though Jenna herself had never explored any artistic pursuits. Sometimes in the evening she would watch Amanda sketch, fascinated by the way her friend's face softened in concentration, her breathing slow and rhythmic as the pencil moved across the paper. These quiet moments of witnessed creativity planted seeds in Jenna's consciousness that would later bloom in unexpected ways. The market manager, Mr. Sandoval, had always valued Jenna's ability to connect with customers, her genuine interest in their lives, and her unfailing reliability. The elderly man had become something of a mentor to her over the years, sharing stories of his own journey from a young immigrant to a successful business owner. His weathered hands would sometimes rest on her shoulder as he shared words of wisdom or praise for a job well done. The market itself had become more than a workplace. It was a second home where Jenna felt valued and needed. Evenings often found Jenna and Amanda sharing the day's stories over dinner, their conversation flowing easily as they chopped vegetables or stirred simmering pots on the stove. The kitchen would fill with delicious aromas and comfortable silence, broken only by the occasional laugh or thoughtful comment. These shared rituals of daily life had created a rhythm that felt as natural as breathing, a dance of friendship that neither had to think about to perform perfectly. The security of this connection allowed both women to face the world with confidence, knowing they had a safe harbor to return to. Jenna's parents lived in a small town 3 hours away, their weekly phone calls bridging the physical distance with love and concern. Their voices brought memories of childhood homes with creaking wooden floors and gardens bursting with vegetables in summer. Though she had chosen city life, part of Jenna's heart remained connected to those quieter rhythms, the slow-paced days and star-filled nights of her youth. This connection to a simpler past remained dormant within her, waiting for the right moment to reawaken and offer its gifts. Amanda had been quieter lately, her eyes often drifting to her phone, a smile playing at the corners of her mouth as she read messages from David. Jenna recognized the signs of her friend's happiness, the soft glow that seemed to emanate from within as love transformed her. There was joy in witnessing this blossoming, even as Jenna sensed changes on the horizon, like this subtle shift in barometric pressure before a weather system moves through. The apartment felt different somehow, charged with potential energy and the promise of transformation. As March turned to April, Amanda began spending more weekends at David's place, leaving Jenna alone in the apartment. These first tastes of solitude felt strange, the silence almost tangible after years of shared space. Jenna would turn the television on just for background noise or call friends to fill the unusual emptiness with voices and connection. The thought of being truly alone had never occurred to her as something to consider or prepare for. It was simply an occasional circumstance to be endured until normal life resumed. Life continued its familiar patterns. The market busy with springtime shoppers seeking fresh ingredients for holiday meals and garden supplies for ambitious weekend projects. Jenna moved through her days with practiced ease, her calendar filled with work shifts and social engagements that left little room for reflection or introspection. She was a leaf carried on the current of activity, rarely pausing to consider the direction of the stream or what might lie beyond the next bend. The universe, however, had other plans that would soon challenge her comfortable existence and invite her to discover hidden depths within herself. The conversation that changed everything happened on a Tuesday evening as gentle rain tapped against the windows and the scent of Amanda's famous lasagna filled the apartment. "I'm moving in with David next month," Amanda said softly, her eyes both happy and apologetic as she reached for Jenna's hand across the kitchen table. The words hung in the air between them, simple yet profound in their implications. Jenna felt her heart contract with a complex mixture of joy for her friend and anxiety for herself, even as she smiled and offered sincere congratulations. That same week, Mr. Sandoval called Jenna into his small office at the back of the market, his usually cheerful face solemn. "The new owners are restructuring," he explained, his voice heavy with regret, as he informed her that her position was being eliminated. The corporate chain that had purchased the market saw no value in the personal connections she had nurtured, the community she had helped build. Jenna nodded mechanically as he spoke of severance packages and references, but inside a storm of panic was brewing, thunderclouds of uncertainty gathering on her horizon. The timing couldn't have been worse, or perhaps, though she couldn't see it yet, it couldn't have been more perfect. In the span of a single week, the two anchors of Jenna's existence, her job and her home life, had been fundamentally altered. She stood in the empty apartment the day after Amanda moved out, surrounded by furniture that suddenly seemed too spacious, walls that echoed with the absence of her friend. The silence pressed against her ears like physical pressure, unfamiliar and vaguely threatening in its completeness. For the first few days, Jenna tried to outrun the silence, filling her hours with coffee dates and volunteer shifts, returning to the apartment only to sleep. But her bank account couldn't sustain this avoidance strategy for long. and gradually necessity forced her to spend more time alone within those quiet walls. She began to notice things she had overlooked before: the way sunlight created patterns on the wooden floor in late afternoon, the soothing rhythm of rainfall on the fire escape, the distant melody of a neighbor's piano practice drifting through open windows. One rainy afternoon, while cleaning out a closet, Jenna discovered a small embroidery kit that Amanda had left behind. It was still sealed in its packaging, a forgotten gift or abandoned intention. Curious, and with nothing better to occupy her time, Jenna opened it, running her fingers over the colorful threads and smooth fabric. The instructions seemed simple enough, and she settled on the couch, the gentle patter of rain providing a soothing soundtrack as she threaded the needle for the first time. Something unexpected happened as Jenna pushed the needle through fabric and pulled the thread tight. Her racing thoughts began to slow, her breathing deepened, and a sense of calm descended like a gentle blanket around her shoulders. The simple, repetitive motion created a rhythm that seemed to synchronize with her heartbeat, creating a meditative state she had never experienced before. Hours passed unnoticed as she focused on the emerging pattern, completely absorbed in the act of creation. When she finally looked up, darkness had fallen, but something new had awakened within her. Each morning now began with a ritual brewing a cup of fragrant tea, its steam curling into the air as she settled by the window with her embroidery hoop. The world outside continued its hurried pace, but inside her apartment, Jenna had discovered a new sense of time, measured not in minutes, but in stitches and breaths. The colors of the threads reminded her of the produce displays she used to arrange vibrant reds, sunny yellows, leafy greens, but now she was creating something entirely her own, stitch by careful stitch. The apartment no longer felt empty but spacious, not lonely but peaceful. Jenna began to recognize the difference between solitude and loneliness, understanding that one was a circumstance while the other was a feeling. In the gentle quiet of her home, she found space for thoughts and feelings that had been drowned out by the constant noise of her previous existence. She began to hear her own inner voice more clearly, discovering desires and dreams that had been whispering unheard beneath the surface of her busy life. Amanda visited one afternoon, her eyes widening with delight as she saw the embroidery pieces displayed on the living room wall. "Jenna, these are beautiful. I had no idea you were so talented," she exclaimed, genuine admiration in her voice. Jenna smiled, realizing that this new skill was not just a way to pass time, it was a form of self-expression, a language through which she could communicate the quiet beauty she was discovering in her new life. For the first time, she felt a sense of artistic identity forming, something uniquely her own. When her neighbor, Mrs. C's, Rodriguez admired the embroidered flowers on Jenna's tote bag. Jenna impulsively offered to make one for her. The older woman's face lit up with pleasure, and they spent an hour discussing colors and patterns. 3 days later, when Jenna presented the finished piece, Mrs. Rodriguez insisted on paying her, pressing bills into her hand despite Jenna's protests. "Value your gift," the woman said firmly, her weathered hands closing Jenna's fingers around the money. "Others will value it too." That evening, Jenna created a simple online shop, photographing her embroidery pieces against the white wall of her apartment. The act felt both terrifying and exhilarating, a declaration to the universe that she believed in her new skill enough to share it with others. After hesitating for a long moment, her finger hovering over the mouse, she finally clicked publish, sending her creations out into the virtual world. Then she closed her laptop, picked up her needle, and lost herself once again in the soothing rhythm of thread moving through fabric. To her amazement, orders began to appear in her inbox, first from friends who shared her page, then from strangers who had discovered her work. Each request came with its own story, a mother wanting a special gift for a daughter leaving for college, a man seeking a memorial piece to honor a departed friend, a young couple requesting custom work for their new nursery. Jenna's embroidery became a conduit for others' emotions and milestones, connecting her to people's lives in a way that felt both intimate and profound. As spring turned to summer, Jenna established a new daily rhythm. Mornings were spent outdoors, walking in nearby parks and gardens, gathering inspiration from the shapes of leaves and the delicate architecture of flowers. She would often stop to sketch ideas in a small notebook, noticing details she had previously overlooked in her hurried existence. Afternoons and evenings were devoted to her craft, the apartment filled with the soft sounds of thread, pulling through fabric, and occasional sighs of satisfaction as designs took shape beneath her increasingly skilled fingers. One year after discovering embroidery, Jenna sat in her apartment, now transformed into a cozy studio with organized bins of colorful threads and sketches pinned to inspiration boards. Sunlight streamed through the windows, illuminating her latest creation, an intricate landscape commissioned by a local arts center. Her fingers moved with practiced confidence, each stitch adding texture and dimension to the scene taking shape before her. The rhythmic motion of needle and thread had become as natural as breathing, a meditation that centered her in the present moment. The steady income from her online shop and local commissions had replaced her market salary, allowing her to support herself through work that brought her genuine joy. Each piece she created carried a piece of her spirit, telling stories through color and texture in ways words never could. Customers often wrote to share how her embroidery had touched their lives, bringing comfort in difficult times or celebrating precious moments. These connections, though different from those she had known at the market, felt equally meaningful, perhaps even more so for being built on the foundation of her authentic self-expression. Amanda and David visited regularly for dinner, their friendship having evolved rather than diminished with the changes in their lives. Tonight they were celebrating Jenna's newest accomplishment, an invitation to teach embroidery workshops at a respected crafts center. As they raised glasses in a toast, Amanda's eyes shone with pride. "I always knew you were special, Jenna," she said warmly, "but watching you discover your own gifts has been amazing." David nodded in agreement, adding that her journey had inspired them to pursue their own creative interests more seriously. Jenna's small apartment had become a sanctuary of creativity and peace, the walls adorned with her favorite works and shelves filled with books on textile arts from around the world. The space reflected her inner transformation, no longer simply a place to rest between social engagements, but a true home that nurtured her spirit and creative practice. Visitors often commented on the sense of tranquility they felt upon entering, how the space seemed to invite deep breathing and present moment awareness. Jenna would smile, knowing that this atmosphere was a reflection of her own hard-won inner peace. The lessons of solitude had been profound, teaching Jenna that being alone did not mean being lonely, that silence could be nurturing rather than frightening. She had learned to enjoy her own company, to value the quiet moments that allowed her creativity to flourish. Her social life remained rich, but it was now balanced with periods of solitude that she guarded as precious and necessary. This equilibrium brought a sense of wholeness that she had never experienced in her previously busy, externally focused existence. On summer evenings, Jenna often took her embroidery to the small balcony, working as the sun set and casting a golden glow over her hands. The neighborhood sounds created a gentle backdrop, children playing in distant yards, birds calling their evening songs, the occasional laughter from the cafe on the corner. These sounds no longer represented connections she was missing, but rather formed a beautiful ambient soundtrack to her contented solitude. She had learned to be fully present with these sensory experiences, appreciating them without needing to be directly involved. Each finished piece now carried Jenna's distinctive style, recognizable to her growing number of admirers and collectors. Her work featured naturalistic elements with unexpected color combinations and innovative, stitching techniques she had developed through constant experimentation. Art critics had begun to take notice, with a small but prestigious gallery requesting pieces for an upcoming exhibition focusing on contemporary textile arts. The validation was sweet, but Jenna found her greatest satisfaction in the process itself, the meditative state that descended as she worked, the flow of creativity that connected her to something larger than herself. The friendship with Amanda remained a treasured part of Jenna's life, but it now existed within a larger constellation of meaningful connections. She had formed relationships with other artists and crafters, joining a community that understood the unique joys and challenges of creative work. Monthly meetings at a local arts center brought opportunities for skill sharing and collaborative projects, filling her life with kindred spirits who valued both creative expression and the quiet concentration it required. These friendships, built on shared passion rather than circumstance, felt deeply nourishing. Looking back, Jenna could now see the twin losses of her job and roommate, not as disasters, but as catalysts that had propelled her toward her true path. What had initially felt like abandonment had actually been the universe creating space for her to discover her authentic self. The market job had been pleasant, but ultimately unfulfilling. The constant social interaction had kept her distracted from the creative urges that had always existed quietly within her. Now, gratitude filled her heart when she thought of that difficult time, gratitude for the pain that had pushed her toward growth. In her journal that evening, Jenna wrote about this profound sense of gratitude for the challenges that had revealed her strength, for the solitude that had introduced her to herself, for the creative practice that had become both livelihood and spiritual path. The pages filled with reflections on how fear can transform into courage, emptiness into possibility, endings into beginnings. Writing by candlelight, she felt a deep sense of peace wash over her, knowing that she was exactly where she needed to be, doing exactly what she was meant to do. A small exhibition of Jenna's work opened at a local gallery, the space filled with friends, customers, and art enthusiasts admiring her creations displayed on walls and in illuminated cases. Mr. Sandoval, her former boss, attended with his wife, his weathered face breaking into a wide smile as he embraced Jenna. "I always knew you had hidden depths," he said warmly, gesturing to the intricate pieces surrounding them. "Sometimes life takes away what we think we need to give us what we truly deserve." His words resonated deeply, capturing the essence of her journey from loss to discovery. As evening fell, Jenna stood alone for a moment in the gallery, taking in the physical manifestation of her inner journey displayed on the walls around her. Each piece told a story of patience, of hours spent in contemplative creation, of the beauty that can emerge from embracing solitude rather than fearing it. The gathered crowd represented a different kind of connection than she had known before, one based on authentic self-expression and shared appreciation for beauty. Her heart swelled with quiet joy, a deep contentment that radiated outward like the gentle warmth of a candle illuminating a room. The rhythmic motion of her needle continued to be Jenna's daily meditation, each stitch a reminder to stay present, to breathe, to find beauty in small moments. The practice had taught her patience and persistence, showing her that meaningful creation cannot be rushed but unfolds in its own perfect timing. These lessons extended beyond her craft, infusing her approach to relationships, challenges, and dreams with the same mindful attention. Life itself had become her canvas, each choice a stitch in the larger tapestry of her existence, creating a pattern more beautiful and complex than she could have imagined in her previous hurried life. The path ahead stretched before Jenna like a length of unmarked fabric, full of possibility and potential. There would be challenges, certainly creative blocks, business decisions, the evolution of her artistic voice, but she faced the future with a quiet confidence born of self-knowledge. The woman who had once feared silence now sought it as a source of strength and inspiration. The person who had defined herself through others now stood firmly in her own identity. As she closed the gallery door behind the last visitors, Jenna stepped into the cool evening air, her heart full of gratitude for the unexpected journey that had led her home to herself.